Welcome to Grow with Kush. I'm your host, VNT Kush. Today, we're diving into the world of independent music with Bollywoodro. In this call, we'll be exploring how he leverages himself to create a career in independence.
Actually, here it is, but we're gonna leave it there for now.
Say Kush, bitch, I'm back up on my rise. And I ain't fooling with my eyes. Stevie said going, so I had to compromise. You gon' lose your life, keep fucking with your pride. Even though I know it's never been my life. I will comfort lives that has punctured all our wives. Should've seen it from beginning, but we lack to visualize.
How can you leverage yourself to build a career in independence?
I think a lot of it is just kind of tapping into your own story. So like when I first started out, I just made beats in college and high school, and I was able to send my stuff out. So I'm from the DMV area, like DC, Maryland, Virginia. So I was able to connect with some local artists. I think my beats got up to like G-Eazy's camp out in like the Bay, but like no one would like rap or sing on it, and I kind of took it, personally. I didn't, I was like, man, how come no one's want to, kind of rock with me like that? So I kind of took it upon myself, like, hey, I have my own story, and I have some stuff I want to, get off my chest and off my head. So it kind of started from my own story and just building a music, kind of like building the music around that reflects that. So growing up, like a lot of my beats, if you looked at the title, you could definitely you could see like what I was feeling, plus the music and the title. So sometimes like my guys would hit me up like, hey man, are you okay? I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm just how I'm expressing it. So just the whole independence route is like kind of starting from like, just understanding who you are. And maybe if you don't know what that is, kind of allowing the music to help guide you in that direction. So I think that's like the main foundation, I think, in terms of starting independence is like understanding who you are and just kind of laying that foundation to at least head in the right direction.
Yeah. It's great that you mentioned that you're from the DMV area because, I mean, well, specifically, I'm from Virginia.
Yeah,
And a lot of people in my town, we don't consider ourselves as part of the DMV because I'm from Richmond.
gotcha.
But
Yeah,
it is like really great to know that like it is some really great local people out here that are really doing their thing. Like hearing your stuff and hearing your music, I really think it's like extremely different in terms of bringing out who you are, and not so much um like you're not constricted by the environment that you're in, and you're able to kind of like use who you are, the true essence of who you are, to kind of build out your music. And I think
fact.
that's really fire. The I feel like there's a mix of the Indian style stuff with some like some whole different sound that I feel like you're trying to that I feel like you're trying to cultivate. So,
Yep.
um, why do you think that makes you unique in the way that you're able to utilize those aspects of yourself?
Yeah, so like, growing up, so I played an Indian percussion instrument called tabla. So they're basically
Yeah.
kind of picture like bongos, but you play with the individual fingers. So my
Mm-hmm.
parents introduced me to that since I was like 5 years old, and so I kind of played that kind of throughout high school. Um, Originally, I played basketball. I was a college hooper. That was my main goal. I wanted to do that and
Yeah.
kind of take it as far as I could. So I went to college. I couldn't bring my tablas with me. They're very loud, and in a dorm you can't really have
Mm-hmm.
that. So my aunt, she actually got me my first MIDI board, which is actually behind me, and a laptop. I had the laptop, but within the MIDI board there was a free version of Ableton. I didn't know at that time you can make beats. So
Mm-hmm.
I was like amazed by that. And then lo and behold, one of my teammates, he went to Dematha, but he was big in the music scene as well. Like he could play the piano really well, and he taught me, very, at that age, at that time, like everything about making beats and stuff like that. So once I knew I could do that, I wanted to bring my Indian classical background to and combine it with music I grew up listening to, hip hop, rap, R&B, um, and because that's who I am. Because I'm a second generation. My parents immigrated from India, so I am born in the States, but I do, and I have family from India, but I'm kind of in the middle, right? So I'm kind
Mm-hmm.
of bridging. I'm in two worlds, one foot here, one foot here. So
Yeah.
trying to balancing that and trying to find who I am. And I think the best way of doing that is combining a lot of the stuff I learned when I was a child, through tabla, and then as I was introduced to, like the Shy Glizzies of the world and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, man, this is really dope. Like maybe we can combine this with this, and it can be really, different because I think for me, I kind of realized growing up that I wouldn't say like an oddball, but like kind of like a black sheep in my family. So I was okay. Let's
Mm-hmm.
try to embrace it, even though it's kind of
Yeah.
difficult. And that's where I kind of try to approach it with my music as well. It's like I want to bring something that it's like familiar to your ear, but it's different at the same time. So like I'm bringing you into my world that's not too foreign, and then you'll be able to
Mm-hmm.
connect maybe on some like same levels like that.
I love that, especially hearing that specific thing about like something that feels familiar to you, but it is something so different, something like it is new. It is something that has never been heard, never been made before until now. But like when you hear it, it feels like something that feels good, something that familiar. Like I love this thing, and that's I think that's like the biggest part of like high level creativity. Just
Right.
because you're able to really take from things that are I mean in art in general we're taking things that exist and we're putting together and making our own stuff to it,
Yep.
um but when people can actually hear that and feel that, I think that's what makes it um all the
Yep.
more better. um
Yeah.
it is really crazy though, like hearing the fact that you went from like playing these playing these drums all throughout school, and then you started making music. You got your MIDI board. You got on Ableton. Um, that sounds really close to what I did, but
Yeah.
not in the exact way though. It
Okay.
was really cool though. It was really cool the way you're able to put that. I was like, hold on, it sounds like this man is talking my story, but no,
Yeah.
I did snare. I
Okay.
did snare throughout school.
Okay.
And I tried to play a little sax, but it wasn't really I don't know. I love saxophone, but I don't think I was in the right space to be able to learn how to play that.
Right.
Um, then I was supposed to get a MIDI pad. Um, it never came. I ordered it off Amazon. It never came. Um, so
Gotcha.
I ended up getting some other little keyboard which is back there and it's broken now. Um, Ableton was free. I got on that thing. Well, this was after I was making beats on GarageBand and
Same. Same.
on
Yeah.
my phone. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, it is really fire to hear such a similar road and journey to get here. Um, Especially like knowing that you really want people to kind of feel the music that you're putting out, feel the story that you're trying to that you're going through, the stuff that you're trying to conceptualize.
Yep.
um how important do you think it is for people to hear you and hear your story?
I think I wouldn't say like to hear me, but like for me, like music is like therapy for me. It's like mental wellness, mental health is like very big in my life. It's affected, my close family and friends and me personally. And so I guess it's not like, I make music in terms of just one to get clarity in my thoughts. And in the process of doing that, if someone else connects with it and likes it, that's amazing. But I guess like for me, like, I don't make music for me people to hear me out. It's more of like, um, I'm just sharing what I'm going through, and if you can relate to that and it can help you, that's great. But it's not so more like, "Hey, look at me," anything like that. It's more so like, I love being able to, put my thoughts to paper, understand clarity, and it kinda helps me conceptualize certain things I've been through my life and gets like kind of some kind of closure out of it. And just because growing up, I just never felt like people really understood me. Uh, best one was this mic, and once I fell in love with that and that can happen, I was kind of like hooked in that. So I think for me, it's just more like sharing my story, and if it can connect with somebody, and if it can help you, that's my main thing with making music. Yeah.
Yeah. That's fire. um what do you love most about your music?
I think I'd really take a lot of pride in my production. That's because I'm a producer first. Any song that I start out with, any project, I always start out with my beat, and it comes like I said in the beginning, that beat comes from a feeling, and once I'm able to make like a beat around that feeling or that topic, then I'm able to write. So I said the best part and my favorite part of making music is the beat production part. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. It is. I feel like a lot of a lot of independence stems from like your own production, um,
Yeah.
and especially with me, I love making sure that I let my producer side out. You know what I mean? And it's hard for uh, people who who are vocalists and who are producers because um, not all the time will both ends come out the way they need to. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And you got to really try to find that balance between the both. And if you can find that balance and the song is not as good as it can be, at least you have that balance. You know what I mean? And
Yep.
from there, you can start to elevate it and start to get better. Um, and I think that's what I love most about making music and production in general. Um, yeah, it's just very creative.
Yeah, and the funny thing, like, when I first started making beats, like, I would put too much into it, like too many perks and all these things where there's no space for the artist, but then as I started to write and stuff like that, I kinda learned that how to make that balance, like, when do I need to add more to it, when to, like, let it be, and as, like, the more I was able to practice it and, like, hone my craft, you're able to find that balance a little bit better, like, with my ear, I'm like, "Okay, I think this beat is done."
Yeah,
I can start writing to it and stuff like that.
yeah, that's fire. Um, how are what kind of like what is your process for writing music? Because I know everybody's different in the world that we're living in now. It's people don't do the same things anymore. It's no longer we're getting the pen and we're writing in a notepad. So, what's your process for writing music?
Yeah, no, so I have, right here, like, I have a whole bunch of these books, and the funny thing is, like, my parents got these for me, it's, like, different, like, spiritual, like, quotes on it, and then within
Mm-hmm.
it, I'll just, like, write in my book, so, a lot of it kinda goes from once I have the beat down, and my first thing is to get, like, the hook or chorus, so, like,
Mm-hmm.
once and sometimes I'll just sit there 2, 3, 4 hours just, like, humming it out loud or just letting the beat play. Like, what that's one funny thing, like, I know I can make a song to something if I can just hit beat like, I can hit play on the beat and just let it run for 6 hours, then I was like, "Okay,
Yeah.
I like this." So, I just let it run, and then I try to get the hook down, as solid as possible because that's, like, my North Star and the guiding principle for the whole song. Once I have that, like,
Yeah.
solid, then I'm able to write the verses around it and stuff like that.
Yeah. That makes that brings me into what I feel is probably like um your biggest song right now. And maybe just in my mind just because of the way you're able to put that together. But the last call track was like
I
I think
appreciate it.
that was super fire, the hook on that. And I mean just to me I feel like that was probably something that like I really love the it's different and you don't hear it much from other people in this authentic way. So talk a little bit about that track and like how that came to be.
Yeah, so, like, the funny thing about it is, that particular song, we were doing, like, some video recording. I was working with the team at a time, and
Mm-hmm.
they said, we needed to go to the studio and lay down a track, and, at the time, I didn't have anything, and this was, like, a week before,
Yeah.
and, um, and I think at that time, I made this when Jack Harlow released, like, "Lovin' on Me," I think that's the song,
Yeah.
um, and that beat was really, similar to, like, Drake's "The Motto," and I love that one because, they had, like, a beat deconstructed on Genius, and T Minus was going through it, and
Mm-hmm.
he built that whole beat just by making drums. I was like, "Man," a lot of my songs is very melody based, like very heavy on that. And I
Yeah.
usually start with the melody first, then go into the drums. So I was like, okay. I really like this song. I wanted to try to do maybe my version of that. So I started just with building out the drums, and then once I had that out, I found this one like tabla sample that I
Mhm.
found, and I played it. I was like, oh man, this really fits together. Once I had like that bounce going, the only
Mhm.
two melodies to that was like a simple piano chord progression, and I found this guitar loop. Once I had that, and it had like a somber mood to it, and I just kind of was humming to myself like, "Who gonna love me?" and like stuff like that. And I was like, "Okay, like this is
Yeah.
pretty
Hey.
yeah."
That's fire. It does that does resemble like a lot of like what I see from any creative process, just stemming from like you didn't even have nothing and then you came out with something.
Nah, like at during
And
that time, it was like I was kinda going through some stuff, and it like the chorus says, like, "Who gonna love me? I can't do it no more,"
yeah,
because it's like I got so much on my shoulders and so much stuff is happening. It's like I don't even know how the hell we're gonna get out of this stuff. So, and the
yeah,
funny thing is, like, that particular song, I recorded it at Greenhouse Studios out in, like, PG County, and,
okay.
um, and so when I actually like, this is the fastest I did this I ever recorded a song after, like, it was, like, 20, 25 minutes, it was done, and kinda like the engineer was kinda pushing that pace too, but, like, I was
Mhm.
kinda surprised afterwards how quickly I do because my song process either lasts, like, 2 to 5 hours, I take my time because it's back here, but with the
Yeah.
studio, like, you got time and stuff like that, so, and once I was just hearing just, like, the rough mix, even, like, the video guy next to me, he's like, "Man, this is actually pretty good," and then I looked and I was like, "Nah, this actually, like, pretty catchy," and,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's fire, man. Um how much do you plan on like expanding your craft, especially because you're singing and you're rapping and you're putting both of these things together. How much do you plan to expand on that?
Yeah, no, like, as much as I can because, going back to being an independent artist, I think a lot of it is just being able to wear different hats, but at a high level. Because if you're able to
Yeah.
do that, you're able to reduce a lot of costs. I think my biggest thing when I first started out was, like, mixing and mastering, and rightfully so. These guys are, like, super, super talented, and but they would be costing, like, 250, 300, and, I didn't have that much at the time, and, uh, really, really dope. Um, yeah. Did we cut out there for a second?
Yeah, we cut out. I was trying to get you back for a second.
Gotcha.
Uh it's fine.
Yeah.
But thank you for that. How important are the people that support your growth?
Very, 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 because, like, um, I'm really thankful that my dad is actually, like, my number 1 fan. Like, he'll be rewatching my reels. He's, like, listens to my songs all the time, and not too many people in my family do that, right? Outside of, like, my
Mhm.
mom, my dad, and, like, very few of my friends, like, people don't really maybe take my music that seriously because, like I said before, people viewed me, as a basketball player, and that was my main thing in my dream
Yeah.
growing up, and switching into this, I don't think people really thought I could do it. So I think it's very important because, like, building something on your own is like it's a lonely road. You're not gonna have too many people around you, and,
Yeah.
you gotta be comfortable with yourself for wanting to understand yourself and have people there to catch you when you do have many moments where, you kind of fall, but, like, they'll catch you and they kind of reinforce you like, "Hey, keep going." And
Yeah.
there's something there. And, the funny thing is, I'm glad that you mentioned that, like, one of my relatives from London, they came, like, 3 weeks ago, and, prior to them, I had a whole bunch of family members just, probably not giving, 2 shits about what I'm doing and a whole
Yeah.
bunch of stuff, but, like, they were the first ones that listened to my song. They're like, "Oh my gosh, this is really professional. This is really good. You need to keep going. Just keep going," And
Yeah.
their son actually went through something similar. He played cricket in London and,
Yeah.
going to the national team, and their son got the same type of dialogue growing up, and it really felt good, someone within the family saying that, and it
Mhm.
just kinda keeps you to keep going, and then also, like, um, not having that many people in your corner, like, it forces you to you gotta believe in yourself, even though it's super
Definitely.
hard sometimes, but it forces you to do that, and it kinda builds you up, and, so it's yeah, the family's very important, and then just, find that within yourself is super important as well.
Yeah, I find that like I understand that so much because um like I like to think about just like my Instagram page just because like I put a lot of
Yeah.
like I put a lot of stuff on there and I like that. I like the whole process on there. But like a few years ago, it was like it just had all my wrestling videos on there. You know what I mean? Like it was not really
Yeah.
it was really just the place to show all my highlights from um wrestling and just feeling, feeling good at being an athlete. And then you go into like doing music, and then like all those videos are wiped clean, and now you got a song up there, and it's like the whole
Yeah.
trajectory of who I am has changed. And so you realize that like a lot of people start to disengage. But a lot of other people start to come in and they start to show you some support as well. Um,
Yeah. And I'm glad you
and
said
it,
that because
yeah,
yeah, because like, one of the main things when I first started to do music, and it kinda ties into why I had to step away from basketball is because, my mental health went, south to the point because I kept using external things as validation, right? So
yeah,
via Instagram, social media, people, you name it, and I took something that I really loved and I turned it into like a pissing contest, and it hurt me because
yeah,
it's something so pure with basketball that no one had to tell me I would be 4 or 5 hours doing this stuff. So when I found my new passion, in music, I was like, "You know what? I'm gonna do this for me and not because I'm trying to get people to like me." And so one of the main things is like I wanted to start a fresh Instagram page myself because I knew everybody from my personal page are not fans of my music. And that's fine, and
yeah,
but I wanted to like grow with people like yourself, other people who have
hmm
because that's how you can build community and that's what's going to really matter in the long run. And it might take some time, but like I am proud of all 793. It may not be the
yeah,
most compared to like some of my peers and stuff like that, but I'm glad I was able to grow that from scratch and to be able to do it with other people that actually genuinely like my stuff, and I do appreciate that.
yeah, definitely. That's really important. Just like taking that step and like really just you're gonna have to start from zero.
Yep.
You're gonna have to start from nothing, and you're gonna have to start to build up all the support, all the love, all the everything that comes with trying to share your craft and trying to really grow on it and make it better. So the fact that you mentioned sports brings me to like a really big question that I've always wanted to hear from someone else who's
Yep.
taken that step to come from sports and to come into music. Is that like were you someone who had like a really good work ethic and basketball?
Yeah, no,
So
like yeah.
yeah, so when you came to music, how did that work ethic translate into like the creative process?
Yeah, no, it translated right over because, like, I was like a gym rat. I would spend 3, 4, 5 hours. I loved it, right? Like, I didn't really
Yeah.
care, and once I fell in love with music, and this was actually, like, towards the tail end of my career, I was still training, but, like, I would train, and then at night, I'll be, like, 2, 3 in the morning just trying to perfect my beats or making more,
Yeah.
and to your point, one example is, like, I got in touch with this one A&R, guy, from, like, a music label. I got in
Mhm.
touch with him, and, he tried to put me the whole Kanye route. He's, "Okay, make
Mhm.
100 beats and then come back to me, and then we start working together." And
Mhm.
I took that to heart. I made 100 beats within, like, a month and a half, something like that, like, real,
Mhm.
like, quality stuff. Obviously, when I reached back out to him, like, he never responded back. He just wanted me for his my beats for his artist, but
Yeah.
that's the type of work ethic that I put in every day, like, when I was starting out, like, every day I gotta learn, whether that be watching a YouTube video, whether that be networking, whether that be making a beat, doing like a writing exercise, something, or like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I'll go on track list and I'll just search like really different samples, like
Definitely.
Slovenian music. You know what I mean? Like I want to broaden myself
Oh
up as
yeah.
much as you can because um that's how I approach basketball. Like I would just ask my coaches so many questions and I'll be working out till, lights are off, everything. So it definitely translates to that, to music.
That that's really fire. I was I was really in love with wrestling, but I was in between sports, so I was doing wrestling, but I was training for football.
Mm.
Um, I didn't have the grades to be doing either of the sports, but I definitely didn't have the grades to do football, and it really it didn't matter to me though because I was working my ass off. I knew that like
Yeah.
at one point I will have the grades. I will have what it takes, and I will have everything that I need to get there, and I need to be prepared for that. And it didn't end up going that route where I ended up taking that full step and becoming all within myself as an athlete, but taking that what I did get was that discipline and that like appreciation for like the work. um so then when you come into the music and then it's like make all these beats, put all this stuff together. I mean, I was making like 4 or 5 songs a day, and some
Yep.
of them would be my beats, some of them would be other people's beats that I had to like go search and find people. Some of them I got some beats off YouTube. I mean, it's like you got to figure out what you got to do, and
Yep.
you got to put it together. For me, I knew I always wanted to make my own beats, but I never really wanted to be a producer for other people personally, in my opinion. I think it sucks because you you kind of guide the whole thing, and you can like if we really want to talk about like why all the music sounds the same today, it's like all the producers are making the same type beats, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's like when we have that much power, I personally didn't I just didn't want to step in. I'm like, I don't want to have that much power over other people's sound, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I agree with that. I agree with that. 110%. Even
um
like for me, like I want to be able to like network with a lot of instrumentalists, right? Because let's say
yeah.
I have an idea, but I know you can play the guitar, banjo, piano way better than me. And so
Right.
what I sometimes try to do is like I'll play like a very like basic uh example of what I'm trying to do, and I'll try to take it to
Hmm.
people, hey, like try to make it better. I think like when people say producers, it's like saying like, "Oh, I like this sound, I like this person, I like this," and then we can put that together. I think that's kinda like my specialty is like I can pick out certain things, 'cause I can't play, violins and all these different samples, but if I hear
Yeah.
something, I like it. So, I think that I think to your point, like, I don't wanna like, you should be able to cultivate your own sound. Like, I don't know, um, your sound as well as you do, right? Unless, like, we're able to connect
Hmm.
and get to know each other as people at a deeper level, then I'm like, "Okay, maybe I can try this out." But I definitely, agree with what you said.
Of course. Um, do you feel like, or I would say, what is better, or what do you hold more to your soul, producing or vocalist and vocal recording?
Um, I would say producing, like, that's really near and dear to my heart because I feel like if the music is not there, then, like, the song not gonna go. Like, I gotta
Yeah.
make you feel something with just the instrumental. If I can do that, and then, like, the words can match up with it, then we got
Hmm.
something special. So I probably hold that, like, near and dear, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that probably comes from just like our instrumental backgrounds and just trying to really like we had to get inside the science of the music to really figure out how we can actually what's working, what's not working. And so when you get on to like something like a FL Studio or an Ableton, and you can put all these things together, and it's like everything is not the same as it is, how it would normally be if you were just playing all instruments, but
Yep.
it still gives you a better feeling, and now you can kind of I think you can work with it, and the production becomes entirely better. Which I feel like that whole thinking and that whole process from the beat to the vocals is probably why we hold that closer. Is just because we need the music to get to the words. You know what I mean? We don't need to go from the words to the music.
Yeah,
And I,
and the funny thing is, like, sometimes, like, on my, iPhone, I have, like, the notes section, like,
yeah,
certain lyrics will just come in my head, and I'll write them down quick. I'll save them, and then when I do make the beat, it kinda clicks to me like, "Oh, I wrote this. We can put this in here, and then we can,
yeah,
start cooking from there." So, yeah.
that's fire. Um, how was it? How was it just like knowing that you're coming into an industry that isn't it's not populated by a lot of it's not populated by a
Yeah.
lot of people from India, and you're coming
Yep.
in and bringing your Indian feeling, that culture, that style and everything. Like, how do you what is your thoughts on like bringing all that into the music that you make?
Yeah, I think, it helps me just stand out. Cause like, for me, I kinda realized, like, yeah, like, the whole like, 21 Savage, Lil Babies, they're all taken. I can't beat them at their game. What I can do is
Right.
just be me. And I think, that kind of confidence within myself or willingness to wanna do that kinda comes from my friends, right? Because, out of my whole family, I have a very diverse group of friends, like, I got,
Mm-hmm.
Hispanic, white, black, you name it, and the fact that they really accept me for just me, like, even, like, a lot of my teammates, when they came over to my house and my mom would cook Indian food, they're like, "No, no, we wanna
Mm-hmm.
try that," and every time and they love it, right? And so,
Yeah.
the fact that they're so open arms about it, I'm like, "Oh, man, I can take that step." Like, I can introduce something where it's different, but it's, familiar to what they like,
Yeah.
nothing, like, so off-broad, but, like, maybe I can make something that it's in their lane, but still me, and that's how
Yeah.
I can enter this, my way because I know um, unless like you're really like rapping at like a Griselda level and higher,
Mm-hmm.
or you're making some like, you know, beats and sounds like 21 Savage, Lil Baby,
Yeah.
you know, um, Playboy Cardi, they're already doing it at a high level. It's already taken. I don't know if I
Yeah.
can above that. So I'm like, okay, instead of going
Right.
here, let's try to make this path and let's try to be the best with that.
Yeah, that's fire. Um, where do you see yourself in 7 years?
7 years, man. My biggest thing is building a brand around my music, something that stands for um, understanding who you are can
Yeah.
actually accelerate and exemplify what you do. So for me, like I'm a big wellness guy. I've transitioned to that, and a lot of those techniques that I use so the kind of background to it, like I have my own performance wellness company called Ushva. It's designed to
Mm-hmm.
help athletes improve their mental health and performance at the same time. Because having to step away from my dream because of my issues, I want to make sure nobody had to go through that. But I feel artists and athletes are the same because they're creatives and just in different canvases. So the
Mm-hmm.
same techniques I teach athletes, I actually use it upon myself to get that higher state to get that creativity. So kind of, from 7 years of now is like using that Ushva brand, kind of like my Rock Nation, where it's combining sports and
Yeah.
entertainment together and showing people how you can do it. Because for me, reaching the highest levels of music is not so like, hey guys, look at me, but like I want to be able to teach you how I got there. And the way I was able to
Mm-hmm.
do that is using different techniques and stuff like that to understand who I am and kind of getting that space and clarity. And when you're able to do that, it can be really powerful in whatever path that you want to do. So
Yeah.
um, that's kind of how I see myself. 7 years is basically creating a brand that combines my passions of wellness, sports, and music, and using that to be able to change the conversation in terms of um, behavioral health and stuff like that because it's applicable to everybody. And so
Yeah.
what I've seen is like sports and pop culture really moves the needle. So imagine like your favorite artist or your favorite athlete is doing these things, then it's gonna get younger kids to do it, and we can actually kind of change environments, change how people are feeling because nowadays out there it's very rough. People are going through a lot of stuff, and people don't really know how
Definitely.
to address it properly. So my goal is, okay, maybe we can use sports and music as a vehicle, to help people.
That's fire. Talk a little bit more about this Ushva brand. Is that how you
Yeah,
say it?
Ushva,
Ushva?
ASVA. Yep.
Okay. And talk a little bit more about that and how that came about. I like hearing stuff about that.
Definitely. So when I stepped away from basketball, I was in my last year of grad school,
Mhm.
and we had to write a thesis paper. And at that time, people like Naomi Osaka, Simone Biles were coming out, and they
Mhm.
were also struggling. I was like, "Oh wow, I'm not the only one going through this stuff. So
Yeah.
maybe there's an actual issue people are going through." So I was like, "Okay, maybe as a current athlete going through it, how can I add to it and maybe help?" And so my whole thesis paper was about what's out there, what can we do, um, and kind of long story short, I sent my thesis paper to my now co-founder. His name is Ishan Shivanand. He's a Himalayan monk. Was born in India. His father's known as the father of ancient healing, and I've been following him and my family since I was a young kid. And how music kind of connects with that. Again, with the tabla, whenever like a spiritual leader or somebody came to the DC area, they would sing like different religious hymns and songs, and they needed
Mhm.
percussionists, and so they would
Yeah.
call my mom. I would come out and help them out. And out of all the people that would come from India, Isham he was young, and then secondly, he could speak English really well, so I could understand what he was saying. And a lot of the stuff he was teaching and saying, it was a lot of correlation and connection with what my basketball coach was teaching me, a strength and conditioning coach. And so that's when we together, once he read the paper, I DM'd him via LinkedIn. I didn't think he was going to read it, but he ended up reading the whole thing. And together
Yeah.
we created Ushva, which is basically combining performance and wellness designed to help athletes gain a competitive edge through mind, body, and emotional balance. Because, growing up, especially, people of color, talking about our feelings is not second nature, right? And so
Yeah.
I knew with these kids, asking them to open up and talk to a therapist is not that easy. So I wanted to create something where you're working in to working out. So,
Yeah.
and you don't really have to talk to me because it's very difficult. But these same things that can act as a pregame warm up or cool down, it's going to help, internally. And
Mhm.
because of that, you're going to be playing great in, whatever sport that you're doing. So that's how I came about, Ashva and where we are now.
That's super fire. I think was really important because it's not you're not just an artist, you're an entrepreneur and you're someone who's really trying to change the way something is being done, especially systematically. And I think that is that's what's important. And uh it reminds me of my friend Stevie. He's I did the first podcast that I had with him, um my first episode, and the thing about him is he's studying psychology right now at UCF,
Yeah.
and I like that because within my business we're able to like really like when we talk to artists, when we work with artists, like he brings something special because he understands the way someone's thinking, he understands the mind, and he really wants people to feel comfortable. He wants people to feel like
Yep.
this is a place where people can fit in and people can add value. um and I think that's really important, that like when you start to look at those kind of things, when you start to look at like, okay, I want to make sure that the people around me, the peers, the people that are really involved in the stuff that, you know, I hold dear to my heart, I want to make sure that mentally and cognitively they're moving in the right direction. Um
Yep.
and that's so much different than, worrying about someone's financial direction or worrying about um where someone's going with um their career, or just it's more focused on, hey, I want to know like how we can help you better your mind, better your so you can make better work, so you can do your job at a high level.
Yep.
um I think I love hearing that. I love knowing that there's people out, especially artists, that are out here creating these kind of businesses, these kind of organizations that are pushing boundaries. Um,
Getting it, and I appreciate you making a platform where I can share that because, like, when I created
yeah.
Usher, I'm doing music, and when you are reaching out to clients and stuff like that, I don't know how
Hmm.
people will react to, "Hey, I rap, but then I also teach breathing," right? People might be like,
Yeah.
"What's going on?" So, I'm kind of
Yeah.
careful in terms of sharing that because I am building boats from the ground up, and I
Hmm.
do wanna combine it at the right time, when both have the same traction, but I really do appreciate you, one, to be me able to share that and the fact that, that you find it like a value in that, means a lot to me, and, definitely.
Yeah.
And to your point, like, the last point, like, understanding yourself so you can do better work. I think like expression is big. I think a lot of people,
Hmm.
the reason why they're going through certain things, they're not able to express themselves or they feel they're not seen or heard, right? So,
Yeah.
um, and with the whole process of doing my ushva with the music, it's like it's an interpretation. It's like, okay, if you can understand how you're feeling, your thoughts, and you can channel it towards a purpose and passion, this is the result of it, right? So my vehicle is music. Somebody else might be as a chef. Somebody else might be something else. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
being able to show that type of examples, that's the main thing why music is very big to me, and I want to be able to combine the two. And people like Jay-Z that kind of like I'm like he's like I look up to everything that like all the articles, interviews because he stands for more than just an artist. And this is what an artist can do
Yeah.
because you have a platform where you can reach billions of people. Imagine that you're standing for certain things, like really things that can empower people. That's like super. Imagine like even like the Kendrick Lamar's and
Yeah.
all that, they all stood for something bigger than themselves, right? Like how you can change the world like that. So, but yeah, no, very thankful and appreciate and just being on here, and it's dope to be able to share these things with people like yourself.
Yeah, you're talking to a fellow entrepreneur, so I definitely understand how hard it is to make sure that these things come together at the right time. These things come together because when you're doing two things and you're doing two things with like much love and care and thought to it, you can't just throw everything together and hope
Yeah.
everybody just understands. It's like you really got to cultivate these things. Um, at a separate pace and then slowly start to integrate those things into each other. Um, and then
Yep.
once you get there, I mean, it's sailing high from there.
Yeah. No, you hit it right on the head, man. Right on the head.
Yeah. Um, what are you working on next?
What am I? Oh, so I got another single coming out. Um, I'm still finished recording it and everything. So now I'm
Okay.
getting into the whole mixing and mastering part. So I want to release that maybe like end of August, September, like an end of summer type of vibe. And then from there, um, I have been like gotten in touch with certain organizations and companies that can maybe give me like a bigger platform to maybe get some more exposure. But for the
Yeah.
most part, just making a lot more songs, a lot more different song ideas, and putting that together. I've been watching a lot more like mixing and mastering like tutorials. So I want to get better at that, just like the different nuances. But yeah, no, I am gonna be dropping a new song like end of August, September, and yeah, excited to be able to share that.
That's fire. Well, um, I think just with all that work you got going on, just make sure you keep your head up high, especially in the climate that we're living in today. Um, especially
Yeah,
how hard it is in independence. Like, I mean, it is really hard to do this thing and to continue to do this thing. It's not something that is like easy to continue to do. It's like something you gotta wake up every day and say, no, I'm gonna go do this thing because this is the thing that I
yeah,
really want to do. Um,
and
there,
and to your
yeah,
point, like you put in that work, and sometimes you don't really see that results, right? But like this, like when I released Last Call, um, I was kind of researching how to do a release and all
mm-hmm,
that, and how to promote the best. I did some research on Lil Nas X, Old Town Road, how that song broke. I
yeah,
think he was in an interview or somebody was saying like it takes at least 3 to 4 months for a song to break. So I was okay. If that's the case, let me try posting every day. So once I release last call, and I think maybe some people might be noticing it, but every day I'm like posting some type of video, and that's a
Yeah.
commitment and discipline where trying to come up with fresh ideas, and I'm shooting all the videos myself, right? Like I have a
Mhm.
tripod here, I'm doing it here, I'm doing that, I'm going on CapCut, I'm editing all that,
Yeah.
um, and that's to your point, it's everyday grind. But like I've actually, it's funny thing is like I actually look forward to being creative and doing these things. It may not get
Yeah.
thousands of views, but the fact I'm able to put something together and do that on a consistent basis, that's what I'm really proud about.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing I do want to share with everybody who's listening to this is the fact that you're able to show up and do the work on a consistent basis and having that urge and that curiosity to want to get better and have fun with that. That's something to be really proud about because to your point, over time you can get burned out, be like, "Man, why the hell am I doing all this
Yeah.
stuff?" But, it's something that I've actually learned to love it now. "Oh, okay, cool, like, Imma keep doing my thing because as long as, like, I'm doing the best that I can, like, 110% every day, um, everything else will fall in its place eventually, but I gotta do my job and at least, and while you're doing the job, like, you gotta put, like, positive vibes and energy into it. If you're doing like, "Oh, man, I gotta
Yeah.
keep this," you're not gonna get that back, so,
Of
just
course.
those type of things to be aware of.
That's fire. Do you have any questions for me since I've been asking all the questions this
Yeah,
whole time?
not definitely, I mean, the fact that you're from Richmond, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Technically DMV, but not DMV. I get that too. I got a buddy
Yeah.
from Baltimore. He's like, "Man, I'm not from the DMV. I'm from Baltimore." I was like,
Yeah.
"I got that." But no, like, I guess when did you start with music? I know was first as a producer, but like, I want to definitely hear your story and kind of like where you're heading now.
Okay. Um, so I started making beats when I was 6. I made my first beat on Audio Tool, which is like a little website where you can make beats and stuff. It had like a whole web app and stuff, and that was really cool. I learned from my cousin who he was making beats for a while at that time, and he was older than me. So just making that like that was kind of like the start of like my musical journey. But I didn't really take it as serious. It was something that I did like when I got bored or when I didn't have anything to do. I was like, let me go make a beat. Um,
Same. Yep.
then then I went into like choir. I went into like band. I went into I was in an acapella club one time. That was like my seventh grade year. Um, this whole I mean from my elementary to middle school to all just music and band stuff. I think when I hit middle school is when I started doing sports. I
Yep.
did my I started wrestling when I was in sixth grade. So my first year in middle school, I started wrestling. Never, I didn't get to start. I didn't get to start on the team, but I did get to sit back there, practice, and do everything. Seventh grade, no, I think I missed that. Sixth grade, I was starting to play football. I was starting to train on football and do that kind of stuff. Eighth grade is when I started wrestling. Seventh grade, I was
Gotcha.
working hard on football and doing all that kind of stuff, working on some just working on like who I am. Seventh grade was like a really big year for me because I like my time as like a child. I really wanted to push the boundary of who I am, and like I really wanted to focus on me and focus on what can I do. So that was kind of the start of everything. I started working hard on football, that discipline. Eighth grade, I started wrestling. Then ninth grade, I was wrestling as well, but COVID hit. As soon as COVID hit, it was
Yeah.
2020. Um, I left, went to Ohio, um, and I ended up I was in my aunt's basement. That's when I got my mic. That's when I got the laptop. That's when I got the interface. That's when
Yeah.
everything started for me. Was COVID, and it wasn't like I didn't want to do sports. It was just like it kind of just there
Yep.
was no real, we
Yeah.
couldn't go out and mingle with anybody, so I couldn't really do any sports with anybody unless I was just going out there by myself or with someone else who's trusted. But beyond that, it was just music. I had to focus on music and say, let me just get this music done because I really love
Yeah.
this thing and I don't have much to do.
Yeah.
Then then by like 2021, 2022, I was just heavily going in, and that's when that practice, that work ethic translated, because I was 3, 4, 5 songs a day,
Yeah.
nothing else, just making music. And I was actually out of school because I was homeschooled around that point.
Yeah.
After 2020, I just, decided to do everything homeschool. We did everything, got the paperwork straight. I learned a lot over that time. I started reading, I started studying, I started creating, I started doing my own research and doing my own research papers and stuff like that. All that stuff took part into my music and how I just like to. I don't want to ever make anything that doesn't have any substance. So that
Yeah.
homeschool, that learning of everything that I can, went into, like, it was right there while I was making the music, you know what I mean? So right
Yeah.
along making the music, I'm learning stuff. So as we go and we fast forward to, 2023, 2024, um I started my first company, and
Congrats. Yeah.
yeah, VNT Productions, which is, I think, probably going to be like, a really big thing in like the near future, just because of how much I really try to focus on where things are going and not where things are at.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's kind of how, like, I started to take my music to the next level, because now, like, my music is for something now. I don't My music is not just something to be, thrown around and be looked at, or just be like, I hated the fact that people thought that music was free. Most people think they're like, I don't really have to pay any money to listen to music. And it sucks, because that's the kind of perception. So then when you try to give them some music now, they're like, music is free. Why would I pay for this thing?
Yeah.
And I think that hurts the artist so much, because this is the only thing that a lot of us have.
Yeah.
And when you start to take away our only way to eat, then things become a lot more difficult.
Yeah.
So that's why I started my company, is just to kind of change the way um, artists are, artists are treated, and just making sure that artists can be put on a platform that allows them to lead. Um,
That's awesome.
yeah, and that's where I'm at today, is just trying to really cultivate these ideas, trying to put everything together, and use my music as a driver to do so. Um, Using my music and into different things, creating a whole platform that can shed light on different artists and different things like that. That's my biggest goal. And so yeah, that's how I made it all the way from making beats on Audio Tool at 6 years old to,
Yeah.
running my own company and trying to build a whole community out of this thing.
That's amazing, man. No, kudos to you. Like, that's awesome, man. I keep going, and yeah, any way that I can be a part of it and help, I'm here for it, and that's awesome. And no,
Yeah,
that's fire.
definitely. Well, I had such a great time talking to
Same,
you today, man. Um, and I will always
same here,
want
man.
to, get in touch, talk more with you, and do more of this kind of stuff in the future. Make some music together, do a whole lot of cool stuff together. That'll be fun.
Yes, sir. No,
Um,
I enjoyed today's
yeah,
conversation. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Actually, here it is, but we're going to leave it there for now.
Say Kush, bitch, I'm back up on my rise. And I ain't fooling with my eyes. Stevie said going, so I had to compromise. You gon' lose your life, keep fucking with your pride. Even though I know it's never been my life. I will comfort lives that has punctured all our lives. Should've seen it from beginning, but we lack to visualize.